Well, let me tell you about the time I cheated on the carnivore diet, and holy cow, did it mess me up. Now, this is something actually fairly recently. So I was in Europe with my family, and we were in the south of France, and then we went to Portugal, and we came back through Paris. And all that time, I had stayed pretty consistent with a carnivore diet, although, it kind of had to shift more towards more dairy products, more eggs, and less beef, which I typically eat. And I have been eating for basically the last 9 years. I started this diet back in 2016, so it's, late 2025 here. And over those years, I have consumed meat, beef every single day, essentially. There have been periods of time up to 2 years where that's the only thing I ate, literally only beef. And, but over the years, I'd kind of brought in, from time to time, like I said, some dairy products, some eggs, some seafood, and then every once in a while, something off, just totally off plan. That's been my consistency over the years, and generally have done pretty well with that. But, on this trip, we sort of deviated a little bit, just for a brief period of time. And the consequences were not good at all. We were staying in Paris, and, we were staying near the Seine, the river that goes through Paris, and checking out the sights. And, family was eating in a few restaurants. And I said, well, what the heck, I'll just eat whatever. I'm not going to pay for all this expensive food and not consume it, because that's just the way it is. And it's kind of harder in a foreign country. When you're traveling, it's always a little bit more of a challenge. But so I decided, well, I'll just eat the regular food that comes on the menu. And not like I was eating a bunch of junk food. It was just kind of normal food that people would eat. So, if it was steak frites, then I would eat the frites, basically the potatoes that come with that, and a few other odds and ends things. And I was consuming quite a bit more dairy than I'm used to doing. And one of the things I noticed, well, obviously, when traveling, sleep is a little jacked up, and it just is, due to the time zone difference, due to sleeping in different beds, and different schedules and different routines and so on and so forth. So that was something that I was dealing with. But besides that, I started to notice, probably with all the dairy I was consuming or something like that, I was developing a little bit of a rash, on the thorax and some of the side. Nothing, it didn't bother me too much. It wasn't like itchy or painful or anything, but I just noticed, hey, there's a little rash there. It's kind of unusual. I don't usually have stuff like that. So that was, one of the things. But the real problem was, and this was significant, this was not a minor thing, this was a real, almost like a medical emergency for me. I was really concerned about this. We had one more day left, and then we're going to get on the plane the following day. So about 36 hours before leaving, I developed the worst case of constipation I've ever had in my life. And I'm not talking about a little bit. I'm not talking about some minor inconvenience, a little straining on the toilet. This was so severe that I had visions and seriously considered I'd have to go to the ER to get disimpacted. I mean, this is something as medical students, they would sometimes threaten us going in there and manually disimpacting people with impacted bowels, where you have to kind of dig the poop out of people, which is pretty disgusting if you think about it. So I get in there, and we get back from the evening, and I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. So I feel like I have to go to the bathroom, constipation. So I'm like, whoa, nothing's coming out. And I will tell you, in the near decade long time that I've been on a carnivore, I've never been constipated. It's not an issue. My bowel habits are completely fine. No issues with that whatsoever. It's fine. There's no issues whatsoever. But this was something, that started, I'm on the toilet, 10 minutes go by, nothing happens, 20 minutes goes by. And then over a period of almost 3 hours of trying, I remember my wife was asleep, and nothing's coming out. I'm miserable. I literally, so I finally give up and go to bed. And I wake up the next morning, my wife said, hey, we're gonna go check out the Eiffel Tower and go touring around. I said, hey, I gotta stay home and deal with this. So I asked her to go to the pharmacy to pick up a few things that might help with that. So a little stool softener and a little bowel stimulant. I'm gonna try these things. So I take those, and they're supposed to kick in, in about 6 hours or something like that. So I'm waiting around, hop on the toilet again, a couple more attempts, nothing happens. So I decide that, hey, I'm just gonna go walk around, because this is, what we know that helps with constipation. So I walk around Paris, and I'm walking around. I walk by the, Notre Dame. I go by the Louvre. I'm walking along the river, and, and then I get about a mile and a half from where we're staying in the hotel, and all of a sudden, the medicine kicks in. And it's like, oh my God, I felt like I was going to crap my pants. So I'm walking around Paris, thinking I have to go to the bathroom, but still nothing's coming out. But I feel that way. I get this sensation that I'm going to, crap my pants. So I'm walking around Paris, trying to get back to the hotel where I can kind of take care of business, in the privacy of my hotel room. And I make it back. and hop on the toilet and figure like, oh, great, I'm gonna get rid of this stuff, and still nothing happens. I'm pushing and trying to poop, and literally it feels like my insides are flipping around backwards, and nothing comes out. So I'm sitting there, I'm just really like thinking about, oh man, do I got to go to the ER to get this impacted? What's going to happen here? I decided, well, there's one other thing I can potentially do, and there's a medication called Microlax, which is basically a lubricant. It's like a rectal medicine you put up your butt. So I stick this lubricant medicine up my butt, and it's supposed to kick in about 15 minutes. And sure enough, it starts kicking in, and I start to feel that I can start to go to the bathroom, and I hop on the toilet. And it takes me over a period of about 3 or 4 hours, about 3 or 4 attempts of just pushing like I'm trying to deliver a baby. And it's like, I think it was like I had cement in my bowels. I mean, and I think it was because of the fiber, which I'm not used to eating. I just don't eat fiber. So all the fiber that I had included, it increased in my diet, plus probably the overconsumption of fromage or the cheese. And so I'm in there, just straining, and finally over about a period of 3 hours and 3 or 4 attempts, I'm able to get a decent amount out of me to where I feel like I don't have to go to the bathroom anymore, which was a feat in itself. And so thankfully I was like, oh, I don't have to go to the ER at least. And so I decided, the next day I was like, I'm just not eating. So I ended up fasting for like 48 hours, on the plane back and so on and so forth, and got home. And then at that point, just given a couple things, I decided, hey, I'm just going to do a complete reset, complete 100% beef diet. And I'll talk to you about how that's been going in another video here. But suffice it to say, cheating on the carnivore diet sometimes can be disastrous. I mean, we're all human. Sometimes we drift from side to side from time to time. But my God, that was a lesson. Don't do it like that. Don't eat too much cheese and add a bunch of fiber in there, because that was it was not a fun experience. I used to think about, old people talking about their bowels all the time and how they would complain about that. And I was thinking, oh, why are they all worried about their bowels? But my God, an experience I care never to replicate again. Let me know if anything like that has happened to you guys when you've cheated on carnivore, if anything negative has happened to you. It's interesting to see how that applies. Glad to be back on the regular routine back home. It makes such a big difference in quality of life. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
এবং মঞ্চে উপবিষ্ট রয়েছেন বাংলাদেশ খেলাফত মজলিসের সদস্য অভিভাবক পরিষদের সম্মানিত দায়িত্বশীল, এবং মঞ্চে উপবিষ্ট রয়েছেন সংগ্রামী যুগ্ম মহাসচিব বাংলাদেশ খেলাফত মজলিস কেন্দ্রীয় দায়িত্বশীল জনাব হযরত মাওলানা শরাফত হুসাইন সাহেব, এবং মঞ্চে উপবিষ্ট রয়েছেন সভাপতি বাংলাদেশ ফরিদপুর জেলা শাখার সম্মানিত সংগ্রামী সভাপতি হযরত মাওলানা আমজাদ হুসাইন সাহেব, এবং মঞ্চে উপবিষ্ট রয়েছেন সহসভাপতি বাংলাদেশ খেলাফত ফরিদপুর জেলা শাখার সম্মানিত সহসভাপতি মাওলানা আবুল হুসাইন সাহেব, এবং মঞ্চে উপবিষ্ট রয়েছেন বাংলাদেশ খেলাফত মজলিস ফরিদপুরের সম্মানিত সেক্রেটারি জনাব মুফতি নাসিরউদ্দিন আইয়ুবী সাহেব। এই পর্যায়ে আপনাদের সামনে বক্তব্য নিয়ে আসছেন হযরত মাওলানা সুবহান মাহমুদ সাহেব, সহসভাপতি বাংলাদেশ